Just double checking everything here. Sorry, I just realized Mercury's still retrograde. I'm just last day. I'm just checking, make sure the webcam's working. Okay, good. So Saturn's really the key. It's what if you're prepared, if you have responsibilities or things you need to accomplish, if you understand you want to accomplish something, you want to achieve something, if you understand that, then you can understand what you need to do to get there. And in understanding what you need to do, Mars, to get there, Jupiter is assimilating Mars, is listening to Saturn, seeing what I want to accomplish, so I'm going to do this. The right and wrong with Jupiter comes, do I just do it any which way? If everybody's doing it, I can try anything. I can get away with this, I can get away with that. Or wait a second, if I just get away with things, I rip people off, it's not going to be right. There's a moral consciousness that develops in Jupiter. Or if it doesn't, there's going to be problems in the life of its functional, what accomplishes, what gets done. You know, Saturn can be your honor and respect, but it can build up a life of dishonor and disrespect too. And to that degree of how well we've lived, we see it with career, but we also see it with the strength of our back and our bones. People have been really aggressive when they're younger. They usually hurt their back or their knee or their ankles. And by the time they're 30 or 40, they're hobbling around and they can't be as aggressive or assertive as other people are. Oh. So in this whole process, as we're going, our ego's developing, our confidence is growing, we're seeing this is life, this is where it's going. And then as we get past up to 60, we've gone through a couple of Saturn cycles and 5 Jupiter cycles, not that many cycles, then we begin to start realizing we're dying, we're getting older, we only have another cycle to live, what can we do with them? By the time we think, well, I want to do something, and what can I do with this? It depends on how much we wasted and how much we built up, how healthy we are, how strong we are, how responsible we are, so many things are based on the Saturn, but in that last 30 years, if you haven't decided their spirituality, or if you haven't found God or spirituality by the time you're 60, the next 30 years is just about dying, and it's ugly. If you have found it, there's another world to work at, to build up, to add to your inner being that makes it clearer and more meaningful to get by in a not so strong or in an older body, let's call it. Okay, putting up with older people or letting younger people do their things, or like just even being a grandparent. What's the biggest lesson of being a grandparent? It's your grandkids. You love them. You know exactly what they need to do. And just when they're having trouble, you want to say exactly what they need to do, but you're not the parent. They're not your kids. Whoa. There's a humbling. It's your kid has to solve it. You're lucky if you can get your 2 cents in at all. So this is, I call it a kind of sweet sorrow, but our later years really is seeing the accumulation of how we've lived our life and what's happened and where we are and what we've done. So you can be very successful having done things. You can make money, you can be really rich, but you may not have found your heart or what love is at all. Whoa. But it's amazing how in the outer world, circumstances like kids, grandkids, people, they play on what we call our heart. We get involved with it, we get attached to it, we want it, Venus, we're thinking about it, Mercury, we feel we need this, Moon, we're doing things for it, our identity is, our confidence is tied up with it, and good and bad things happen to family too, according to their karma. And we're having to come to terms with it, we're trying to understand. So as we get older, there's an inherent spiritual or philosophical inner understanding that comes in, and we only have so much time. I can't do those things anymore. So they're doing those things, it's their turn, and we begin to see things a little differently. Okay, so until our body doesn't make any more, until we haven't got any room to be physically active anymore, and we let go and move on to what's next, whether it's the next body, when they go to just rate the spirit, whatever's next. It's an adventure. It's not going to be measured by our feelings, by our mind, by our emotions, by our egos, by our power, by our understanding. Can't be measured, but it's on another plane. It goes beyond those things. So that's the foundation we built up, knowing astrology, looking at these things, building up to now. We're coming into progressions, and we're coming to a much more profound thing. And progressions, you often can't even begin to see them until you pass 45. You're a bit too busy living to stop to catch the inner tune, to hear that inner sound to get that inner depth. It happens to everybody, but the progressed sun, and we're going to deal with progressed sun, and we got days to deal with each planet, but today we're going to deal with the sun, and we have to understand what the sun is or how it's going to work. So we've seen the sun in our natal chart as our confidence, our ego, our willpower, our will to live, our will to radiate. I'm somebody, I'm going somewhere, our will to move into the future, where the moon is your memories of the past. Your sun is your will to the future. Well, and Mars is what you're doing. Everything we do, everything we think, everything we want, all these things are pushing out into the future. And as soon as we're pushing them out to go towards them, as soon as we're experiencing them, they're getting dumped into our past. So we're constantly shoveling the experiences of today into the memories of tomorrow. It's yeah, it's today, it's the tomorrow that you worried about yesterday. So there's a lot of little puzzles around. We all run into time. We have a certain time. We find we grow. It's everything. A plant, a tree, a mountain, everything grows in its own time, in its own way, and it has a cycle of building up and a cycle of falling apart. And it changes. Planets probably grow and fall apart in time too. So when we're trying to look at our sun, I just want to create a foundation to expand what we're going to, because it's so simple to just mentally get the calculations, look at the progression, say, oh, this means this means this, and you haven't got it. It's not the progressions. It's just the structure. It's just the rhythm. It's just the pattern that's going. It's not what's happening as you're going through them. So in a way, I consider this it's kind of the progressions are your spiritual steps leading up to the temple of silence, or leading up to the temple of beyond. Okay, now, so your ability to radiate confidence and radiate love and power into life and willpower, the sun shines out to everything, just to be alive. Really, it's kind of like 2-year-old stands up and gets its confidence because he did this, or doesn't have confidence because he didn't do this or that. Like there's healthy or not healthy. All these things, we have a complex pattern about how our sun works and how our confidence works. That's the magic of looking at the natal chart in astrology. Then we watch what happens to it as the transits go around. But the progressions, it's almost a bipolar, a dualistic thing. There's two sides to it. And on the one side, our sun is our ego, our confidence, our willpower, our purpose, our being in life, our sense of importance, a sense of we're going somewhere, we're alive. It's our will to be. And I've used the word confidence along the way, but the confidence comes from being able to radiate, being able to love, being able to share energy unconditionally, and being able to be confident. Find your confidence and your own willpower in that confidence. So that's the outer sun. So in the progressions, in one way, we're going to see a track where you look at anything going on, and the first thing you're going to see, your ego is going to look at it, and you're going to see, oh, what's this going on, or how did this work, or how did my ego do this, or what experiences I had. You're going to try and crystallize it in terms of the experiences that happened in your life at that time. You're making that association. This happened over this year or two. It's going to take a while, because as you're watching the progressed sun go along a day for a year, any aspect, anything that happens with progressed sun is at least 2 years. That's only allowing a 1 degree orb. Could be a little longer, a little less, but generally I like the 1 degree orb. And so anything comes up, it's a 2-year cycle. A whole Mars cycle is being used up in this one aspect. A whole cycle of action, completion, and that whole cycle of force is going to come up and wind down within that one aspect, within that one cycle. So the I guess just thinking, the sun's ego trying to do things. It's going out into the world. It's measuring things. It's doing things. Even with progressions, I'm going to use this. I'm going to see this. This. It's going to put what. It's going to make. It's going to create an inner sense of what's important. The progressed sun, your ego is going to feel this is important, or this theme is important, or this challenge is important. This relationship of my purpose to this planet is important. It's building it up. It brings it up to the surface. So as we see the sun evolving or growing through its progressions, we're developing different attitudes. We're still the Libra or the Scorpio, the sign we are, but inside we're opening up and we're in different attitudes, degree by degree, pentan by pentan, sign by sign, evolve. And we keep growing and adding these inner experiences of these degree by degrees of the pentans, the signs, as we're going through. And in this process, there's a steady evolution of those. But as you hit aspects, as it hits stars, it hits planets, it hits angles in your chart, there's bigger shifts that come up that stand out inside of this basic cycle. There's a lot to study in this. As we start to listen or watch at it, there's so much. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's so strong. That's why Church of Light and other groups, some groups only work with progressions. They won't even bother going out to work with transit. There's so much happening just within progressions. And without understanding the attitudes that a person has, without seeing the internal shifts and the changes going on within, to understand how a transit works, even a progression for that matter, to understand it, you have to have a sense of the natal chart, how they're living their chart, and what level they've got to, what level of consciousness things are working at. And according to how well you are able to see that in a chart, how someone's conscious of that in their life, then you can make sense of what a transit is challenging. When a transit comes and challenges something in the chart or puts stress on something in the chart, it's stressing that factor of consciousness in your being, in your natal chart. So without a good, wholesome, deep understanding of the natal chart and the different categories and different levels which we worked on really solidly, it's almost impossible to see without having those layers of depth. You're just going to a superficial insight of the progression. So as it progresses, so it goes through, it's going to go through daylight increasing, nighttime increasing, those shifts. It's going to go through the sign, the cardinal fixed mutable, the masculine, feminine. It's going to go through different rulerships. It's going to do that within the signs. It's going to do that within the pentans. These cycles are repeating within each other, like hours, like minutes within hours, or seconds within minutes. And we're alive to all of them, but we're not always conscious of them. So these are happening within us. And we can be too busy. I mean, if there's hot opportunities happening out in your world, if there's this beautiful woman or beautiful man or somebody that you're interested in and you're going on it, you're not taking time to reflect on your inner attitudes. Things happen in life. You know, somebody gets hurt, something, you got to help them, got to do it. You get pulled out. But in the middle of all the transitory challenges, this inner theme is growing and evolving. We're developing an inner evaluation of what's important. And that inner evaluation has to be there for our confidence to really be deeply aligned. Outside confidence is one thing. The inner confidence, that's the healing magic. That's the love. That's the really. So the sun in one way works as our ego and our separate things. So it's going to pick up a progression. It's trying to accumulate these degrees, building up this attitude. We're seeing as a shift in attitude, a slight shifts in attitude as we're going on in our life. Or you might see that other voice is, well, I'm doing this, but oh, can I make it go this way? Can I make it go that way? Like, it's just adding this other agenda inside of it. And in one way, the progressions are the unique things your soul is encountering, so that when you let go of this lifetime, you don't come back to the same loop, back to the same lifetime, and end up in this endless loop with the same chart over and over again. These are the things the soul is experiencing. So the sun on an inner level is the soul. Okay, now I have to further distinguish this. Your sense of my soul, my separative soul, or my sense of my soul, my separative soul, that's my ego soul. That's my selfish, independent, my life, my soul. That's still tied up to the ego. But it is the progressed sun. But there's that soul. And then really there's the soul, which is all souls. There's no separativeness in soul. There's a oneness. It's hard to fathom, much less accept, much less become part of, and much less be aware of, much less be open to. So this